Countless objects across the world are said to possess magical powers. Objects like holy nails. Many cathedrals and monasteries claim to have the nails once used to crucify Jesus. Soaked in his blood, numerous miracles have been associated with them, from healing illness to granting superhuman strength. And that's just one minor example of real-life magical artifacts. Hidden away inside a Japanese temple is a strange bladed weapon. A purely ceremonial sword, it has 7 branches, like that of a tree. We can't say exactly when it was forged, but in ancient times it was gifted from a Korean prince to the ruler of Japan. Said to have been lost for centuries, it was rediscovered in 1945, and has ever since been heavily guarded. The sword is greatly mysterious, and while there is a 2-sided inscription marked by gold, only part of it is in good enough condition to read. But from what of the inscription survives, we are told the sword holds magical powers, strong enough to foil any enemy on the battlefield. That's an impressive ability considering how impractical it would be as an actual weapon. It looks more like a plumber's tool, which would also be impressive for how old it is. But anyway, the sword is more than 2 feet long, and the process of forging it must have been incredibly intricate. As such, it is likely a totally unique creation, hence why the sword is safely locked up. And it's not the only treasure to be found in the shrine that houses it. According to legend, another magical sword is kept here, one used to kill a monstrous serpent with 8 heads and 8 tails. Trouble is though, that one isn't real enough for a video like this. Even by the mid-1800s, people were deeply superstitious. Despite science and reason emerging as major forces in society, vampire and werewolf scares remained common. All kinds of mythical beings were believed in, including ghosts and even goblins. Most feared of all were witches, and so people would create magical items of protection known as witch bottles. Going back to at least the 1600s, they were typically created by doctors, alchemists, or even professional witch hunters. Some were designed to scare witches away, or counteract their magic, containing elements thought to ward off evil, such as certain oils, herbs, and human hair. In previous centuries, mummified cats or horse skulls were sealed inside the walls of houses for a similar kind of protection. I guess in those days witches were just out and about trying to break into everybody's home, so it's no surprise they have such a bad reputation. On the other hand, some witch bottles are made to attract witches, but sealed inside were things like iron nails and seawater, as to spiritually kill the witch. From that moment, the evil will forever be trapped. Many of the witch bottles that survive into modern times are claimed to contain trapped witches. Perhaps if we break them, a new plague of witches will descend on us. Or maybe not, but there's only one way to find out. By the latter half of World War II, the German high commands were getting desperate. They knew time was not on their side, that the Allies had an advantage both in manpower and production. So as the situation got worse, they began asking for something to even the playing field. The best scientists in the world at the time were largely German, so they were put to work developing new weapons. What resulted was a range of jet fighters, and the world's first ballistic missile. These were great feats of engineering, but ultimately just not enough to turn the tide. In the decades that followed, rumours spread of secretive Nazi projects relating to magic, occultism, and even time travel. According to a book published in the year 2000, the most secretive of all Nazi projects was Dlocka, a device that proved deadly to almost everyone involved. In fact, during the initial testing, it is said to have killed at least 5 German scientists. In the shape of a giant bell, it contains 2 counter-rotating cylinders, and a mysterious purple liquid. Its purpose was to achieve both anti-gravity flight and time travel, and while there is little more detail available, many believe Dlocka was ultimately a success. The project is suspected to have been led by Hans Kammler, a cartoonishly evil villain who oversaw the construction of concentration camps. Then, using slave labour, he ran the secretive V-Weapons program, developing rockets to launch directly into Britain. Naturally, he was a high-profile target for capture at the end of the war. Trouble is though, he was never found. Early in May of 1945, Hans Kammler disappeared. In the chaos of those final months of war, many influential figures disappeared, Some were killed in Allied bombing runs and simply never identified. Others were able to escape justice, heading first to Spain and then to South America. For generations, people have wondered what happens to Hans Kammler, and since reports emerged of Dlocka, some claim he used his technology to travel into the future, or even fly away to a distant planet. Either way, the original Dlocka machine is said to have been hidden away by the Germans, and is still waiting to be found inside an old abandoned mine. Speaking of bells, this one is said to have fallen from the sky. Stories of it go back to the 11th century, to a small village in Ireland. According to legend, a loud clanging noise erupted just outside of town. When locals ran out to find its source, they saw a bright shining object falling from the heavens. For generations they safeguarded the bell, showing it the highest respect. But being Irish, it was only a matter of time until they drank beer out of it. That is how the true power of the bell was discovered. The power of healing. Anybody with any kind of illness would give it a try, and if rumour is to be believed, drinking from the bell really did reduce their suffering. Women would also drink from it in the hope of increasing their fertility, or the chances of surviving childbirth. Centuries went by with the Bell of St. Mura passed down by its traditional owners, until at some point in the 1800s when it was sold to a private collector. And if you're wondering what kind of person was collecting magical bells, let's just assume they were evil. And French. In a small Polish town there is a small church. Within it hangs a strange metallic plate. Murky and reflective, it is connected to the legendary Polish figure Pan Wardowski. According to legend, he was once an ordinary man, but in exchange for magical powers and secret knowledge, sold his soul to the devil. For many years he used said knowledge to avoid going to hell, engaging in a game of cat and mouse with Satan. It's a game he eventually lost, but if we're being honest, it was always going to end that way. In the meantime though, he became wealthy and well known, rising to be a sort of court magician to the King of Poland. In 1551 the Queen died, leaving King Sigismund heartbroken. She was the second wife, and widely hated within Poland, but to him she was the love of his life, and her sudden death was a deep wound. Only a mythical, magical boy could help him, and so Pan Wardowski was sent for. With his magic boy powers, a special mirror was forged to serve as a gateway to the paranormal. Then he held a seance, and in the mirror the dead queen reappeared to give comfort to her grieving husband. And that's not the end of its story. The mirror survived long after the death of both men, and would show the future to anyone gazing into it. Powerful men from all across Europe searched for decades to find it, hoping to get a glimpse of their fate, most not knowing it was kept in a simple, unguarded church. Some were lucky enough to find it, including Napoleon, who in a fit of anger punched the mirror. A loud crack split the mirror, and it never again revealed the future. Apparently it showed Napoleon his ultimate defeat to his enemies. Either way, what remains of the mirror can still be seen today. At some point a wooden frame was added, carved with Latin text that reads, "Wardowski played with this mirror, practicing arcane arts. Now it serves God.